Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Allyssa. I own a crochet boutique called Awestruck Crochet, and today I wanted to take you guys along with me to talk about my 2026 year goals for my small business. And I also thought that we would take a look at the goals that I set for 2025 and how it impacted my business, or what went well and what didn't go well. So I thought we could talk about that together and then check out the new goals for 2026. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in and get started with the goals from 2025. I have my notebook here with my goals from 2025 that I wrote down at the end of December of 2024, some ideas and things that I had for my small business and what I wanted that to look like. And so we'll just quickly go down the list because I already did the vlog of my goals for 2025. So if you haven't checked that out and you wanted to see the full in-depth video of what I was talking about for my goals for 2025, I'll link it down below for you guys if you're interested in looking at the full video of what I had planned for 2025. But we're going to quickly go over and figure out what worked and what didn't work. So in my small business, I said that I wanted to really stash bust my yarn, not buy really any new yarn unless it was a natural color. Well, this worked for the beginning until Joanne said that they were going to go out of business, and then I bought yarn then. Granted, I did keep this goal in mind when I was shopping for yarn. I picked really only the colors that I would be using all the time, that I was nervous that maybe I wouldn't be able to find. All of those neutral colors I did stock up on, and so I'm really proud of myself for sticking with that. Also for this goal, I tried working really hard through some of the yarn that I rarely touch, which was really interesting to see because yarn that I picked up to just crochet something ended up being a bestseller, and then it was a yarn color that I was constantly restocking, such as the acrylic color in taffy. I crocheted with it with the Baby Della headbands, and that color ended up being one of my most popular colors that was ordered between the Baby Della, Della Duck, and Baby Bonnie. Those three purchases were extremely popular in my shop anywhere between February to April, and were constantly bought with that color, so that was really fun to watch. Also, when BK Crochet came out with her Itty Palin, I crocheted a little gray horse just to destash some yarn as well, and it became a bestseller too. And so then I was rebuying those colors in order to fulfill orders so that they could go out. So it was really neat to see how some of the colors that I rarely touched, didn't use that often, ended up being a bestseller, and I had to order it again. So I'm curious to see what that looks like for this year in 2026. One of my biggest goals that I had for my 2025 plan was to increase sales on social media. I really wanted to have more orders in my Etsy shop. At the time of 2024, my orders were still kind of hit and miss, and I wasn't constantly busy with my Etsy shop. I can definitely say that my sales did increase through social media, especially through Facebook. I've talked about this before, and people had some questions about sales and social media related, so I will link that video down below for you as well. It was all of your guys' questions were answered in the yarn organization video that I had vlogged over the summer, and there are some really good tips and tricks for selling on social media and what I did to increase sales. But I will say definitely linking my Instagram to my Facebook has been really helpful. So it's pretty much duplicated over whatever I post on Instagram gets posted on Facebook, but I do a lot more linking to my Etsy shop on Facebook than I do on Instagram, just because with the Instagram captions, even though you link the link, no one can click on it in the captions. No one can click on your links unless they are in an Instagram story. And so I do a lot more of tagging the item, tagging my shop on Facebook than I do any of the other social media platforms. And that has really increased sales because you don't know what is going to be super popular, or what video is going to go somewhat viral, or which picture is going to have thousands and thousands of views on it. And so linking the product to my Etsy shop was really helpful. If it was a reel of just my market, then I would link my entire Etsy shop. That way, if anyone found something that they liked, they had quick access to just click the link. They didn't have to scroll anywhere. It was right there in front of them. And then that also helped increase sales. So I will definitely say that sales increased on social media, and I'm really hoping that it continues to be that way through the year of 2026. Created a website with Shopify. I ended up not doing this. I did try to create a website through Square. So since I started my small business and attending markets, I use a Square card reader. They also have a website that is linked to your inventory. I was using the free version because I wanted to see how that would look in my small business. I was intimidated to purchase any kind of plan in case more of my sales was coming through Etsy and not really anything was directed to this website that I was paying a monthly fee for. And in the long run, sure, it didn't end up working out. I didn't get really any views, or if there was views, there wasn't any transaction sales from it. And so it just felt really odd. Since I use my Square to show inventory at markets, I really didn't like that it messed up my inventory value for markets. So for instance, the baby Della, and the baby Bonnie, those were all made to order listings in my Etsy shop. And I was also doing it the same for this free version of Square website. However, you had to list that many items in your website, and it would also translate over into the inventory part for markets. And so that made it really confusing, because then you would think that you had so many Della Ducks or so many baby Bonnies, and you really didn't have any. And so I just didn't like how they ended up not being separate. They ended up colliding in with one another, and it made organizing my inventory really hard and difficult. And I decided to end up pulling the free website and not doing it. So maybe we'll look into it again for 2026 with actual Shopify. I'm still on the fence about it. I know that the Etsy fees are high, but I've always calculated that into my pricing so I don't lose money. I've gotten several questions before about, is the price at my Etsy shop the same as the price as shopping at a market? And the answer is no. The items in my Etsy shop are very much increased due to the Etsy fees than they would be at a market. Here on YouTube, I always tell you how much I sell my items for. If I don't do it in the market vlogs, you can always comment down below and ask me how much I sell it for at a market, and I'd be 100% willing to share my prices with you guys. I do use Camryn's pricing calculator from Camryn's Cute Creations, and I use that well in my business. So if you're looking for something and pricing is hard for you, check out her pricing calculator. I'll link it down below for you guys so that you can check it out and to see if it's something that you might like to use in your small business. The next thing for my 2025 goals was to find a local shop to put my items in. I ended up having 2 shops that I put my items in. I had a small boutique in Sedalia that I would put my items in, which wasn't a very big space. And then I found another shop in Blackwater that I had my items in. And by the end of 2025, I ended up pulling all of my items out of the shops because I could not create enough with my own hands to fulfill the boutiques, to fulfill markets, and to fulfill orders. It just got overwhelmingly busy. Also, when I got into those shops, I had both of my boys home with me, so I could just drop my older 2 kids off at school, and then I had pretty much all day until 3 o'clock before I needed to pick up kids. And then when August hit of this year, my 3rd child went to preschool, which was half days. And so with traveling, I found I couldn't really travel out of town to go to the local shops to replenish anything because of the limited time that I had in order to get back to do car pickup. And also I was just finding that it was an all-day event between just traveling down there, restocking my items, going to the next shop, restocking my items, counting inventory, coming home. It was pretty much an all-day thing that it took up way more time than I actually had for. And so by the end of December, I just felt like I really needed to pull the items in those shops. I just felt bad that I couldn't fulfill what I said that I was going to do, not only for myself, but also for those shops. I said I was going to put my items in those shops, and then I wasn't able to switch out inventory as often as I wanted to, or even the once a month became quite the like ordeal of switching it out, because if I didn't have time, then I didn't have time that month. So it just became really, really hard, and I decided to pull the items. I don't know for 2026 if I'll be looking for a shop to put my items in or not. I really just want to focus on keeping up with Etsy orders, keeping up with market prepping, and just spending the last little bit of my time that I have. Because in 2026, my littlest will start preschool, and I'll just have my mornings free. And so I just want to enjoy the time that I have left with my sweet babies, and not have to worry about other things that I'm not able to fully commit to. So that was my goals for 2025 and how they relayed through the year. Some of them went really well and was interesting to see, and other things just ended up not working out as what I had thought it might. I really didn't expect my Etsy shop to take off like it did in 2025. It took off between February through April. The summer was quiet, but then it picked right back up in October and was completely insane busy through the rest of the year. So that is how the year went with the Etsy shop. So we'll see what it looks like again this year. So noting all of that for 2025, let's take a look at the 2026 goals that I have set for myself. Okay, so for 2026, with constantly shipping items in my Etsy shop, I realized about October or November that I was thinking about maybe upgrading or revamping my shipping packaging. I just really started to think about the idea of what my items looked like when they were shipped. And even though they were in a really cute organza bag, they were packaged cute. Sometimes when I got customers' feedback and reviews, the item just did not look like what it did when I shipped it off. Maybe it was squished somewhere, maybe the headband was laying funny. And I just really didn't like that, because I really didn't know the full effect of what was happening in mail transit from when I shipped it to when they received it. Therefore, I've been really thinking hard about it, and I've wanted to start shipping my items within boxes. I did kind of already start playing around with it. I made a reel of packaging someone's order, a little horse, in a shipping box, and what that was kind of looking like. And I'm really excited about it. It hasn't changed my shipping cost. So I've been really pleased with that as well. So I think that I can continue to ship in boxes. I still need to find a box for my bigger snugglers, especially snugglers that are between 14 to 16 inches tall, or something that's a little bit more bulkier, like one of the stuffies. Right now, this small box is just fitting like mini snugglers, like the baby Della Duck. It did fit in a Della Duck. I was quite surprised that I got the Della Duck to fit in nicely. Just other small things like that. So that is one of my goals, is to fully go into shipping within boxes. And that way, when someone receives an item, it's exactly as I sent it off to be. It can't be squished or squeezed, because the item is within a box and can't be smashed. And so I am really excited to see what this looks like in my small business, and we'll see how that goes. I ran out of my Vistaprint cards for care instructions and the little like note on the back. So I was waiting for that, and already a fail. They are too small. I was thinking that I wanted them to be about the size of this, and silly me, I definitely should have just measured this. But I didn't. And so this is already a 2026 fail of packaging, but I think this is part of running your own business, is seeing what works and what doesn't work. And now I know in the future that I need to just increase the size of these stickers, but I do like how it looks. And it will work for now to get to finish off those. But the next set that I order, I will get a bigger circle sticker print. And so it's just been a lot on my part to compare prices, compare sizes, and what that's going to look like in my small business. The second goal that I had for myself for 2026 is to maximize my profits at markets and attend less markets. Last year in 2025, I attended 14 to 16 markets, and it was every single weekend, especially from September to November. It was almost every single weekend. Like every weekend I was packing up for a market and away from my family. And there are specific markets in general that are just so big. They would completely clear out my inventory when I got to these markets. And then I felt like I was just scrambling for the rest of the year. And I didn't have enough to bring with me to the other markets. And even though I still sold very well, I just felt like it became really hard to juggle Etsy and market prepping to restock everything that had sold out. So for this year, I have my markets cut down to about 8 markets that I'm going to be attending this year. So about half of the markets that I did last year. I've kept my really big ones. And my goal is that even though I am attending less markets, I'm hoping to be able to have more inventory to sell inventory. So you can only sell what you bring. And if you don't have those items made or don't have as much brought with you to your markets, then you can't sell that inventory. So I'm hoping that by cutting back on some of the markets and keeping the big sellers in there, I'm able to make more inventory for those shows and therefore make more money in my small business when I sell at those markets. So that is my goal for that. I plan on making more inventory during the off season so that I can offer them at larger markets and then still make the same amount of profit, but not away from my family as much, going and packing every single weekend. So I'll let you guys know how that goes at the end of 2026 and what I thought about that for my small business. Another goal was to, again, make the Shopify website. We'll see how that goes. It really honestly depends on how busy my Etsy shop is, because I really don't want to get into a place where I can't manage my Etsy shop. I can't manage the new website that I'm paying a monthly fee for, and I can't manage my market inventory. So I think the Shopify website is probably going to be put on hold until I can figure out what the year is going to look like. And how much time I actually have on my hands to run 2 websites and market prepping and all the things. So that might be something that we just hold off on. The fourth goal for my small business is that, again, I want to continue to stash bust yarn with colors that have been on the shelf for 1 to 2 years. Some of these colors I rarely touched last year. Even through stash busting last year for 2025, I did get through some, but I still have quite a few colors that are still on my shelf or I didn't touch. So I'm going to be really going through those colors and making things with those colors so that they are off the shelf. Now that I have fully been into my business and it really took off last year, I know the colors that sell well. I know the colors that work well for my small business and the colors that I want to use. And so I don't plan on spending extra money on colors that I don't really touch. Blues especially are really hard for me. I don't really touch blues, and there are a lot of pinks that I bought that I don't really crochet with as well. I stick to like a neutral pink or a soft pink, but I have some bright pinks that I do not crochet with, or even some bright purples that are just kind of out there. And I don't crochet with them. So I'm going to try to get through those colors this year, get them out of my inventory so that we have more room for the colors that I actually do use. The next 2 goals are kind of related with each other. They are for my Etsy shop. I have a goal to continue to add items to my Etsy shop, at least 1 to 3 new items in my Etsy shop each week so that I can continue to grow my Etsy shop. It continues to gain traction and that there are new items for people to pick from, and then continue to promote those things on social media so that we can still gain traction in our Etsy shop. Being relevant while being active when you post new items increases views, increases sales, and those are all good things that we want in our small business. And then the other goal is that I would like to try to hit 1,000 sales goals. At the end of 2025, I ended the year with 711 sales. And so already I've started with 712 sales for the year. So I'm hoping that we can make the 1,000 sale mark goal. I know that we can get there. And so that will be really exciting if we do. Then some other goals that I would like to make that are just kind of like, they're not super big, is to work on some blankets. For 2025, I got completely cleared out of all of my crochet blankets. So I no longer have any blankets to offer. So I want to work on crocheting some new blankets, crocheting patterns that I haven't crocheted that I bought for 2025 in blankets. So I'm hoping to start some new blanket patterns and getting those up soon. And then I was obsessed with the Marion blanket that I made in 2025 that someone bought. And so for me personally, within the small business, I am wanting to crochet the Levy size so that I can still offer it within my pictures. It looks so pretty and fit my brand colors perfectly. So I want to recrochet that blanket in the Levy size, and just something for me to keep with my small business because I really did enjoy it. I like how it looks with my photos. It's just such a sweet and beautiful blanket already. So if you don't have that blanket, it is definitely a blanket to grab for the 2026 year and work on it. It is gorgeous and you're going to love it. So that is the goals that I have for 2026. I can't wait to share with you how this goes throughout the year and what it looks like again in the 2027 year. I would love to hear the goals that you have for yourself, either in your personal life or with your small business, and share those with us in the comments so we can cheer each other on for the 2026 year. I can't wait to see what this small business brings for the new year. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.